Obviously, this is exciting. Is anybody else going through the coldest winter snap on the freaking planet? It dropped to like minus 1,000 today, and it got a little bit warm, which is like, okay, cool, it's going to be great. And now it's
It went from minus 1,000 to minus 500. That's what he means by it got a little bit warm.
That's true. And then so we thought it was going to be better. It's going to go back to normal, and all of a sudden, it's minus 14,000 now. So hopefully it's warmer for you. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it today, guys. We've got some good stuff for you today. As always, please bring your questions here. It's way more fun when we have your questions. The second thing is I want to talk about a couple things. On a couple of the posts that are moving pretty well on social media right now, especially on Facebook, there was two reoccurring things that came up a lot. One was on leadership. And I offended some women by saying, you're a man. I think it was like, you're a man. You're her husband, you're her leader, so lead, or something like that. And I want to address that today. Catherine and I have a very different approach to leadership and how a man should lead, how a woman should lead, blah, 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 blah. And I think it's pretty different than what you're used to hearing. So we're going to talk about that today. And also, we're going to talk about, I had a lot of people asking, a couple posts referenced putting your wife on a pedestal. And so I really want to address that because a lot of women were very confused about this. And by the way, this, of course, as you know, or you should know by now, 90% of what the content is goes both ways. Okay. So you could put your husband on a pedestal too. Okay. So while your questions aren't rolling in yet here, I'm just going to set this up so we can see comments. You remember how we do that, babe? Was it chat like this or something?
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay. So while your questions aren't coming in, and please feel free to start letting them roll in, let's start talking about leadership first. Okay. So again, the post that I made was something like, you're her husband, you're her leader, lead. And it bothered a number of women to the point where not a ton of comments, but a lot of DMs. Now, I think that where this comes into play is that a lot of women feel like they are the leader in the home. Duh. I mean, you're planning everything, you organize everything from what's to eat, what the kids are wearing, where you're going, what's happening for dates, whatever, which would make you the leader in the home. But also this is, and maybe you don't know this about me yet, but I view society's marriage, the one that's toxic and going to get divorced, is feminism and toxic. Oh, jeez, wow.
Sorry, Finn.
What happened? Feminism and toxic masculinity. Okay, so it's like the two extremes fighting each other, which is just the glorified version of you and your husband or you and your wife in your home fighting for your own life. Okay, now women have been taught they have to start leading. They have to start owning their own selves, leading themselves. I mean, by the way, they have to start owning their own life, taking control. This is the feminist side of things. We don't need a man, blah, 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 blah. And then we have the whole man side. Toxic side. You totally need us. You couldn't survive without us. And like, I mean, you guys have seen the comments. It's kind of gross, actually.
It's ridiculous.
Right? If you think about it, that's why I'm bringing it home, the society's marriage to your individual marriage, you and your husband, you and your wife. Okay. Now, when you own it like we own it, it's completely different. Catherine you'll always say I'm the leader of the home, right? Mm-hmm. However, what you have to understand is we actually lead each other. When you are a true partnership, it isn't about one person being on top and being the leader, being in charge. And I think that is the expression that you need to disassociate from leadership. It's not about being in charge. The women that were upset about you're her leader, lead, they were hurting because that to them meant he's in charge. I am not in charge of Catherine at all. Honey, would you say I'm in charge of you? Look at that smirk. No. But
I will follow you when you are leading in the right way.
That's right. And
respect your decisions.
And let's talk about decisions. So when you start, man or woman, you start making decisions, you start showing up, and you start being the person you should be, which is a leader to your spouse, to your children, to women in life, men to men in life, then those decisions that you make, you back up with who you are, which makes you inspire. You inspire long enough, you lead, and then your partner follows. Okay. So when I say a comment like you're her husband, leader, so lead, that means own your own crap. Take responsibility for your side. And if you've done that well enough, your wife is going to take responsibility for her side, i.e. she's led.
I teach the same thing.
Exactly. Women can do the exact same thing. And so the comment that I joked with Catherine, I was like, you know what I want to write back to everybody who's complaining or DMing? I want to say something like, well, since you're not booking a call, you're clearly not the freaking leader. Worse, you don't have to book a call. If you want to figure it out on your own, you want to go somewhere else for resources, that's totally cool. It's your life. But if you're going to make negative comments about it, then you're still following everybody you can.
The negative
making a-
comment
like-
people are out of this world, though.
We can talk about that for you today if you want
Yeah,
to.
let's
but-
talk about that.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to say about leadership is this: we have a different mentality. We pull each other's strengths out. Okay. So, we lost everything during COVID, lost everything. And basically, I was trying this project, that project. It's mostly crypto and investing stuff. I'm trying to just make money fast because we were
We
in
lost-
the hole.
Lost
okay?
everything.
Yeah. And one day, Catherine looked at me and she just said, "Hey, babe, you've been coaching for over 2 decades. You've been helping men with what you're doing, with what we've done for a little while now. Why don't you go do that?" This is an example of an ask: inspire, lead, ask, then motivate with boundaries. We can talk about that another day. We talked about that last week a lot. But she gave the ask. That's actually leadership, guys. That's the step above leadership. She motivated me to get going and do what I'm doing. And then I did the same for Catherine for about a year. Not a year, 7 months. And finally, she's like, "What am I doing? I should be helping women."
Mhm.
Right? And now we're seeing it again. She's starting to slowly do social media. It's the next thing that I led. You guys, we do this all the time. Parenting is a good example. When we're not perfect parents, we're doing parenting courses. We're
You
trying to
are.
grow. Oh, stop it. She's actually incredible. She inspired me. She
Aw.
actually told me I gotta love them too. I had no idea because of my upbringing that I wasn't doing things right.
He
And
didn't actually know that you're supposed to love children because
that's a whole nother topic.
he wasn't loved.
Yeah, a whole nother
Yeah.
topic. But
Same topic.
I thought I was loving them, but
Yeah.
yeah, just not what people need, never mind kids. Anyways, that's an example of where we lead each other on a day-to-day basis. Who knows what's going to happen? If she's feeling a little bit frustrated because of the kids, or if I'm feeling a little frustrated from the kids, the other one just tags in and says, "Go take a break," or "Hey, babe, I got this," or here's something that most of you couldn't handle in a million years with where you're at in your marriage, but we'll actually reiterate what we said to. So if I say something terrible to the children in a bad way, the wrong words, the wrong lesson, Catherine will reiterate it correctly to the children. And I don't take offense to it. I go, "Thanks, babe." And I say it properly to the children. She just led me. The same will happen when she says something out of place with the kids. So leadership is very important to understand, especially for Christians that are focused on husbands should be the leader and blah, 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 blah. Hey, you know what? She still
And
says
it's
I'm the leader.
true.
She still says I'm the
It's
leader.
true, but that doesn't negate the fact that we as women have leadership abilities when our husbands aren't leading.
100%.
I do depend on you to lead, honey. I
Uh-huh,
do.
100%.
I love that. And from the Christian perspective, which, as some of you know and some of you don't, I do come from the Christian perspective. But I also try to be really reasonable about, I don't force him to do anything. When he's leading, and when he falters,
You're there to pick me up.
I'm here.
We call it an anchor or booster rocket. I don't remember where we learned that from, but
Booster Rocket was just something on the radio one day that I learned.
something. Yeah.
The anchor was something that you came up with
Came
in
up
your
with
in your
my
narcissism.
narcissistic. Anyway, but
Fuck that guy.
fuck that guy. But
Yeah.
the point is, though,
So we don't actually
you
call
can't-
anybody an anchor anymore.
well, I still do with some of my teachings, but it's a different mindset.
Right.
Okay. The point is that you can either anchor or you can boost. Leading is boosting. Nobody's going to follow if they feel like they're being dragged because you're an anchor.
Anchor.
Right? So the last thing that I want to say about this is simple. You all have strengths. And right now, when you are defensive, when you are protecting yourself, which is your innate ability as a person, as a human being, it's human nature to self-preserve. That doesn't matter if you're talking about storing body fat, guys.
That's true.
This
That's
is
just true.
human nature, which is, I don't think I've read this anywhere. So this is just my take on it. But if it's human nature to self-preserve, it's human nature to protect yourself, which is why you'd be defensive and why you wouldn't get anywhere in your marriage, because you're protecting yourself instead. And
Mhm.
what I want you to understand is when you become the partnership that we want you to create, you will both have strengths. I think she's a better parent. She thinks I'm a better parent. This is strengths that we're pulling from each other and moving forward together. I hope that makes sense. So if it doesn't, let me know. Now let me just run through some of these comments here real quick. Okay. Okay, healthy masculine leading. Where did it go? Well, guys, I mean, I don't know how much you've studied or how much you've learned or paid attention to this. And this is where a lot of the feminist stuff comes from, the toxic masculinity comes from. But things changed in the Industrial Revolution. Things changed when the wars happened and men got shipped off. When there was more female teachers. When the men weren't being the kinds of role models they need to be. And yeah, it's crazy. I like to learn. So it's hot. You're hot. Okay, back to it. So,
do you remember what you're talking about?
Yeah, the last 100 years specifically have really.
That's how you know I'm more in love with him than he is with me, because I have no fucking idea what he's talking about.
So, I love you. So,
I love you too.
My wife loves learning so freaking much.
I do.
Yeah, it's hot for her. And by the way, just in case you're a man listening, that's attractive for
anybody.
Yeah, I shouldn't say man. You're right. It's attractive for anybody. If you want to learn, it's attractive for any spouse, because you're always growing, grow or die, move forward. If you become a 10, your partner has to meet you back to leadership.
Finn likes it too, right? Excuse me. Duda learns. Finn likes it.
Where did healthy leading go? Healthy leading got bastardized, guys. Things, I mean, we're Christian, we get it, but things get twisted, not necessarily from the pastors. I think I can see where that happens with some of the messages we've seen, but it's like your wife should submit is bastardizing what leadership really is. If your wife submits, man, that was Solomon's marriage, and his marriage was fucking on fire. She was on fire for him. So there was a submissive context to that. And there's a whole lot more examples. And I am not educated enough in the Bible to do that. I'm pretty new at Christianity. But the point is, society has twisted the way leadership is supposed to go.
Yeah, what they forget to say is that, yes, the woman should submit, which we should submit, but there has to be something worth submitting to. So if the Bible doesn't say you submit to any piece of shit, because the Bible also says there are categories where the woman is biblically encouraged to leave. So it's just that there has been some bastardized.
That's the word I like to use, bastardization.
Yeah. Now, some twisting, some perversion, whatever word works for you. But in general, women, we want to be led and we want to be submissive. And that doesn't just necessarily mean that we just submit to everything that our husband says. That's also not what the Bible says. It doesn't say do everything that your husband says. That's not what it says.
Also, this would pertain to, it doesn't matter if you're a powerhouse. Typically, this doesn't cover everybody, but typically a woman, even a powerhouse woman, she's going to be featured in Forbes right away, is still wanting to submit. Here's the difference. Go back to some of my content, like the reel that's going pretty well. It's not going viral. It's moving pretty well right now. He's talking about the difference between arousal and desire. Your wife might submit, but careful, that crosses the line into job sex. If she desires you, it's real, right? So leadership has to be dialed down, guys. You need to take it down a notch and start focusing on leading yourself first. Pull out your best qualities, not present them like you're so fucking great, like be defensive, why they should be following you. This is called dragging. Nobody gives a shit. They care about what you present that's just clear. My mom, when I was 14, said, you have to respect me. I'm your mom. I was like, I don't have to respect. 14, I learned I don't have to respect you. You're terrible to me. Okay. So what I want you to understand is if you can start to own this inside of you, leading yourself first, that will automatically start the process to inspire. Inspire long enough, you lead. Lead long enough, you're available to ask, meaning it's an opportunity to ask. And then you can motivate with boundaries. I'm so sick and tired of hearing lay boundaries. If you say set boundaries, I understand that you're all along the lines of motivating. But typically people say lay, and you are not leading. Okay? So if we want to bring it back, it's going to start with people like you and us that are focusing on leading ourselves first. Boundaries should be for you, not for your partner. If you do your job right with boundaries on yourself, then your partner is going to follow. And hey, maybe they won't. We can't control them. But if that's the case, if you know you've done everything you can, we can move forward and make a decision based off that, okay? All right, let's go through this stuff. So, oh man, it's doing a thing where it doesn't show everything again. I believe it. Okay, leadership as long as I respect my spouse. Absolutely. Absolutely. There was no way I was leading Catherine when I was talking about personal growth, when I was still slipping back to screaming a bunch of bullshit comments at her, telling her everything she had to fix. The biggest thing is that when you are showing up well enough to know that he should respect you. So most time we get caught up in is I don't respect them, right? So I'd follow him if he'd be a great leader if I respected him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but first, or go back
How
to
about
you.
you?
Like you can never yell if you don't want him to yell. Then you still messed up. People will defend this in and out.
I did.
I shouldn't accept this behavior. Yeah, I used to say it's
defended
Catherine's
it.
turn. It doesn't matter. Who do you want to be? If you want to make a change, go back to what I said in the beginning. If you want to make a change, you're the one who books a call, or you're the one on this live right now. You're the one who asks a question. Then you're the fucking leader. So if you want to be a leader, you can't be proud of yelling. Oh, I just made a mistake and I slipped back. Hey, listen, you'll make mistakes. I certainly did.
We still do.
We still
We're not
do.
perfect. We just
No.
have the skills to repair afterwards.
That's right. But you've got to own that. So that way you can make less of those mistakes. So you can continue to move forward, and you can be more patient and have a little more grace for your spouse if they're not following in that example. So it's not really about you'd respect him unless you can definitely say that, but you have to say first, am I worth respect first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Male or female?
Yeah, male or female. Yeah. At first I thought you were asking the question. But, my husband's parents are still married forcefully because of his mom and his Catholics, but hasn't lived with their dad since they were little. It's so freaking weird. She didn't allow their dad to see them, but only on Sundays for 2 hours to this day. Doesn't allow them into her house. It's so weird. I don't really know what to do with that.
That's a religious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't really address that. I can see why they're trying to honor their commitment that they think they have to God, but that's not what God intended right there.
Well, why don't we talk about that for just really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
So Catherine was trying to honor the commitment to God.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine was going to coast, going to deal, going to settle. Those are the words. I'm not attracted, not in love. I'm settling, and I'm honoring my commitment and my oath under God. A lot of women, so I have a post coming out about this pretty soon, but a lot of women don't even know why they don't want their husband or why they're so unhappy with their husband. A lot of women don't know until you do know. You don't know what you don't know, right? It took Catherine a really long time to be able to articulate those words because she did not understand, okay? And so what she did know by the time she could articulate it was that, hey, I committed and I'm a woman under God and I'm going to follow this through. But this is where we go back to being submissive, where it's not healthy. It's not natural. It's just.
And that's where I was able to have a broader understanding and realize that this is not what God intended for me. So whether you believe in God or not, God didn't intend for you to stay in marriage because marriage is marriage. There's so much more, right, baby?
Oh, hands down.
So much more.
Oh, yes, there is. Oh, so good one. Woo! Okay, we got to go. Bye. Just kidding.
Just kidding. But for real though.
Yeah, but for real, there really is, guys.
Yeah.
Like, you noticed I stopped making the reels all about sex, right? That was the hook. We're big enough now. I don't have to do that anymore. Because just start talking real talk. But whenever we talked about sex, or I'm talking about sex, that is literally because I have something called the rejection ladder. And it's not about just rejection. It's about working your way up to the top of the ladder of sex. You got to get every rung on the ladder down pat. You're climbing up in order. Nobody's jumping from the ground to the top of the ladder. You have to climb it.
I use that same one for things that I teach, not sex. Sex is top, but I use the same. You can't jump up to the top rung. I didn't know they used that analogy.
I didn't know you use that either. I love that.
We're the same, honey. Yeah. If anybody wonders why I keep going over here, I have some soup and I don't want to get into the screen. I'm going to do it over here instead. Okay. Good talk.
So you guys, you've got to go up the ladder and work your way up. When I hook with sex, there is no sex if you don't have good energy in your home. You can't even have a communication or conversation. You're not talking, laughing, dreaming, achieving. You're not having banter, flirting, non-sexual flirting and flirting, right? Like all these things have to be in place. So we're moving away from that now.
And he's not speaking from a power of or a position of I'm better than you.
No, not at all.
He's speaking from the position of we've been there.
Yeah. If you like when men get upset about my content,
which happens all
daily,
the time,
daily, hundreds of comments a day. Those are my mistakes. When a guy says you're such a pussy, you're such a simp. There was a guy on a reel that's moving right now that says men who have to beat their chest and toxic masculinity is absolute bullshit. Like love, value, respect your wife. even you want to be loved, valued, respected. He goes, you're a pussy or you're a simp or whatever he said. No, I'm telling you right now, that guy wants to be loved. Everybody does.
Everybody wants
Come
to be loved.
on.
And
Give
if
me a
that makes you a
break.
simp, that's actually so ridiculous. Hello, all the way from Sweden. Hello, all the way from
Sweden. Wow. I
Canada.
don't think I've ever talked to anybody from Sweden before on my calls.
Haven't done my calls either. I don't.
He wants me to leave everything but finances. One of the biggest problems I find is finances, because money is one of the biggest problems. So you're either leading with finances or you are both doing it together. However, go back to that strength and weaknesses thing. When you're a power couple, there are certain things you may do or he may do or she may do that you just kind of, that sounds like there's three of you, there's only two of you, that you will figure out that work best for you, right? All right, there's no new questions yet. So what I'm going to do, actually, did you come in at the top? Because I see this one here says emasculated him, but I don't see that here.
Yep, go scroll all the way.
I don't see it. Maybe this is too close. Okay.
There we go.
Allowed him. She emasculated him. Okay, so one of the biggest thing a man needs is affirmation. There's words of affirmation, people, but men have 4 appetites, right? So one is affirmation, edification. One is food. One is sex. And oh crap, I can't think of that one right now, which is hilarious because I'm a man, but I guess I got everything I need. I'm
All right.
hyper focused.
There's the visual appetite. Did you talk about that
visual
one?
appetite. Yeah.
There you
So
go.
thank you, baby.
You're welcome, baby.
So
Do your appetites feel filled? Is that why you can't think of them? Because you're not lacking?
that's exactly what I just said a minute
So
ago.
why you're
Yeah,
not
you were
lacking?
thinking, you didn't hear me. I love it.
Welcome.
So
You're
the
welcome.
point is, you're so good, baby. Thank you. So here's the thing. If you emasculate your husband, and this could be like, this is a story I reference all the time because it happened in my Marriage Lords group, but he's on the phone with his dad, just shooting the crap, and he's barbecuing. I think it was grilling because he's down in the States. And he went in to get a spice, and he opened the cupboard door, and everything fell out, and she lost her crap and demasculated him in front of his father, which really upset him. Now he's in my program. He kept us cool together, but he vented with us, and he needed to get it out. He was really pissed off. You see, what you have to understand is, go back to the leadership thing. And Catherine will teach us in her program. Why don't you teach it right now? Do you want to give that lesson right now? Like we're going to summarize it first and see if
I
you
would
want
like you to
to.
summarize
Okay.
it because I was eating my
So
soup.
if you speak to your husband and build him up, we'll call you the leader right now. Okay. Then instead of nagging, right? Just build him up. So in that instance, say, oh my gosh, baby, can I give you a hand? That never happens to you. It sounds so stupid, right? It's not his fault. He opened the cupboard door and the spices fell out. But literally, you just affirmed he was good, man. He's okay, at least okay, right? And that's not a great example of really building him up. But, the point is to speak to him in a way that's not demasculating him.
The only thing
right?
that I can think of that I would say in that instance is, oh my goodness, honey, I must have been in a rush when I put the spices away last time.
Oh, there you go. Take it even off of him, right?
Take the responsibility. I'm
right.
pretty sure
Yeah.
that my husband isn't digging through the spice cabinet. Although if you were, they would all fall out. Because
that's true.
he likes to rummage. But like in this specific instance, but we know that about you. And I'm like, just be careful you don't take the immunization records out with the YMCA card. And he's like, thanks for the reminder. But yeah, if he opened up the cupboard and everything fell out, I would be so embarrassed. I would say, I'm so sorry that happened. I should have put that away better. Even if even if it's not your fault, but like your husband's going to feel embarrassed. Like, do you really need to be right over fucking spices or cups falling out of the cupboard? Do you need to be right?
Hands
No.
down.
Do you want a relationship? Or do you want to be right about spices? What do you actually want to be right about? It's not spices. It's spicy. You want to be right about the spicy stuff, but it's not the spices.
Exactly. I love it. And the other thing is she did that in front of him with his father. So his father starts reading him out, how do you let your wife talk to you this way, blah, blah, blah. Demasculates further. And so I have a post coming up about that coming soon. How, well, of course I talk to men, but you can't treat somebody better than you treat your spouse. Like you just can't.
No.
Like your spouse should be the number one. And so, anyways, we can get into that.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I was at an appointment earlier this week. I actually hope she's watching and I hope she started following us. But I was at a dentist appointment. And so my mouth was wide open and I couldn't say anything. And it wasn't the dentist, but it was someone in the dental office that said, they asked me questions and they figured out I was a marriage coach. And she said, did I tell you the story?
No, I don't think so.
So as my mouth was open, she said, I'm going to tell you my situation because you can't talk back to me right now. And she said, and here's what she said to me. She said, so I left the door open and the dog got out. And my husband got so upset with me that I let the dog out. So I didn't talk to him for 3 days. And I just feel, and she blah, 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 blah. So then I had to pee and I was like, I got to go pee. I went pee. I came back and I was like, here's what I think about the dog situation. If you came over to my house and you let my dog out of my door, because she said, it's the dog's fault. The dog's just bad. The dog ran away. Would you look at me and say, sorry, Catherine, it's your dog's fault. Your dog's gone. And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, so what about her? And I pointed at the dentist and I said, if you went over to her house, because she's your actual friend, you just met me, what would you say to her? You left the door open and then her dog got out. Would you be like, oh, it's not my fault. Don't be such an asshole. It's the dog's fault. The dog is not prepared. The dog's not trained. And she was like, well, no. And I was like, so your husband's supposed to be your best friend. You don't treat me, a stranger, that way. You don't treat someone that you've known for 3 years that way.
It's good shit.
Yet your husband, you say, it's the dog's fault, even though it was most definitely your fucking fault that you left the fucking door open and this thing with this brain this small got out, right? I'm sorry, tell it like it is.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm down.
And she was like, huh. Yeah, you're right. Okay. And I was like, well, that's where you start. It's all about taking responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. I love that you brought
It's supposed
the story
to be your best friend. So you lose your shit and you become complacent and you treat your spouse the way that you wouldn't even treat a stranger with something that actually would matter.
Because you are...
If you're watching this, by the way, thank you for that example.
Because you are back to self-preservation. You're defending yourself and your point to be right. You know, there are cliches that I don't hate. Is it better to be right or be married? Happy wife, happy life, I don't agree with. Mm-hmm. But is it better to be right or married? I do. Because most often, if you stop and think, we had a disagreement this weekend.
But also, if you're wrong, you got to be wrong.
That's what I mean. We had a disagreement this weekend. And I took a drive. And then I went to the store. I was listening to something, and then I stopped, pressed pause, and I started to reflect on what we were talking about, what she had said to me, and I was like, shit. And I went home, and I go, you know what? You're right. I'm literally, I was going back to some of my old habits, behaviors, and saying, you're doing this. And what her question was before I took the drive was, don't you think it's the same? Maybe we both need to work on this. Her leading me, by the way. And I went for the drive. 30 minutes later, I came home and said, fuck. That was the old guy. It wasn't the elevated, hyper-aggressive, mean, narcissistic prick, but
that guy's not welcome.
It's still the old guy, right? So you got to understand, you have to give yourself grace. And when you have a good partner, when you're working together and you're both understanding that you both aren't perfect, we'll talk about the pedestal stuff really quick here. But when you're both there, you can take that time to reflect and come back. Now, don't be discouraged if you're not both there. Because we both have instances in our marriage where only one of us was in, which is why our programs work independently from each other. Sometimes it just takes you to start it because you're the one that's in. Okay. All right. Let me just see what came in here.
I think,
had to shoot it.
Excuse me. There might be a conversation going on that we.
Oh, because I don't know about a rooster. Anyways, let's talk about.
I know about a rooster.
She's feisty tonight.
Tonight?
Well, we're in the live and you brought it up 4 times. Like, this is good. Guys, we got to go. Okay. All right. So
we have, that's a cross between active and sexual. We have an actual.
Active and sexual. We do that, by the way. We think fast. So a lot of times we blend our words together. It's how we deal. Yes. Let's talk about the rooster in 31 minutes.
Okay. Talk about it.
Well, I'll show it to you. Okay. All right. So I want to talk about this pedestal thing because this was very confusing for a lot of people. And so it turned out to be women in the comments and men in the DMs. I don't understand this pedestal, putting my wife on a pedestal. And where the confusion lies is in, I think, the rage. Okay, now let me break this down for you a little bit. So when you put your wife, well, let's say you put your spouse on a pedestal. This stems from when you're a child. Okay, so you have needs that need to be met. You couldn't get your needs met from your parents. And then this exemplified throughout the rest of your relationships in your life. Okay. You reprogrammed and edited that program and made it worse and worse and worse until nothing is ever good enough. Okay. So when you're this type of person in your relationship, you hold your spouse to such high esteem because they're perfect. They're your glory. Like you're getting everything you need. Okay. But what happens is you're pushing your needs aside to make sure you give them everything you can because they're so perfect. Okay. Whether that's beauty, intelligence, just humor, like everything, just everything about them. They're so perfect. And you felt this in the honeymoon stage. You felt this when you met them, and you just were like, oh my gosh, you're pulling out everything that you're getting is so amazing. And you're pulling it and you're grabbing onto it. And you're like, I'm finally getting everything that I need. So you continue to push them up higher, up higher, up higher. What you don't understand is you are typically giving to get. So this could be buying gifts. This could be compliments. This could be dropping everything and being available for your spouse. This could be saying that the quality time that you spend for them is like what, massage, massage, massage. Here's a big quality time one that this type of person will mess up is sexual. You won't even let them go down on you, for example. Like really take time and go put energy on you. There's a part of you that just pushes back. So, and man, when I learned this stuff, I could think back. Like Catherine would try to be. This is the beginning. Catherine would be like kissing me, and I like wouldn't accept it. I just like roll over and try to be manly and go get her what she needs and start kissing her instead of embracing what I need. I always think sex is the easiest example, but you start doing all of these things, but really with the hopes to fulfill your needs. What happens is because you deep down are hurting inside because you just didn't get your needs met in a timely manner when you were young. And so you've learned that you can't get your needs met by asking for your needs. And you've built on this as you get older and older and older. Every relationship that you have, and worse with your spouse, the closer you become, the person who knows you best, who can't possibly live up to your expectations, like not having sex enough, right? Or you're continually trying to take care of her, acts of service, and she's not really down to give you a massage right now. Her hands hurt, right? And so you're like, what the fuck? All I do is I give her this, I give her that. It's giving to get, but you're trying to get your needs met instead of just meeting your own needs. Your partner complements who you are and what needs, bonuses up the needs. And then what'll happen is you start to get more of what you want. The moment I stopped giving to get with everything with Catherine, the more she was available emotionally for me, physically for me, just together as a unit, right? Not like this is one of the reasons why your roommates people are always on almost every single call. Yeah, we're just roommates. We have schedules. No shit. That's everybody who's having problems with marriage. Maybe you're bad roommates, but you're at least roommates. Well, when you're partners, you're not giving to get. You're literally just giving. If I give Catherine a compliment now, she's critical about herself for sure. She totally. We all are. But if I talk about, that's why I teach a guy, like you could say, I love your tummy too. Well, I might love Catherine's tummy, but she might never feel conscious about it. No matter what stage we've been in a marriage, she's always like, what else can I do? Right? Well,
by the way, my tummy's not that bad.
No, your tummy's awesome. But I just mean like,
I know.
It's a piece for you that's your challenge.
Yeah.
It's not mine. But a nice guy, a person that I'm talking about that's putting his wife on a pedestal who's not actually nice, and we'll get to that in a second. He's constantly trying to say, no, your tummy's perfect. Tummy's perfect. Oh my God, it's the sexiest tummy in the world. Let me like blah, 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 blah. Don't kiss me on my neck or whatever. Let me kiss your tummy, but like whatever. And there's a whole lot of levels to this, guys. This is a big part of the training, but I'm just trying to give you a summary. What happens is when your partner is on that pedestal, they cannot possibly meet your expectations. They can't, because you are trying to get them to fill the void for you. And so you have this anger, this frustration that builds to anger. It also feeds insecurities. Insecurities are a monster, anger is a beast. And all of a sudden, most have an extreme amount of rage. And that rage will come out in different ways. For me, that ended up being a restraining order, flipping Catherine out of the bed, spitting hot coffee in her face. Like, this is how crazy it goes. I didn't spit hot coffee in your face. It was warmed up or cooled down in my mouth.
That makes it better.
what the fuck, man? This is how this person thinks. Okay. So I wanted to put this out there because there was a lot of questions about, I don't understand that. Put them on a pedestal. You think you are, but you're not. What it is every time, and you think about this, if you get in fights with your spouse, you guys, when you're defending yourself, are you telling them everything they have to fix, everything they have to do differently because they're wrong? Or are you owning that what you need to fix? And that's it. Shutting up. That's it. And then show up with those fixes in mind. Done. Handled. Right? If you're doing that, then you are taking a step away from putting them on a pedestal. Nobody can live up to being perfect. Nobody. But when you accept your partner for who they are and what they are, flaws and all, but because it's acceptable, you feel your own needs, then what can happen is they can complement that life with you. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. And also, we're not getting a lot of questions today. Just some sort of chat going on between people. So give me some questions if you want them. Mm-hmm. Have you got anything that you want to talk about today, Bit?
I feel like I did have something, but I can't remember what it was.
No?
No, I don't know.
All right. Well, I'd like to talk about something, and that is that we really appreciate you guys. We were banned again and restricted on Facebook for 30 days. No, we were. We just got off the hook this morning, and we still grew. We still grow. We still grew about 1,000. There's 5. That's the 5th one. We still grew about 1,000 followers a day. Yeah, but 5th one. She's going for it. And so without you guys, we couldn't do that.
I will kill you if you do, but wouldn't you?
You're in a mood today. You have a firecracker call tonight?
Firecracker call?
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Like you're just super hyped up. You're just revved up.
Nothing.
You're super like.
Nothing.
You know, we're not super sick for a change.
Sometimes I'm
nice.
Funnier.
Yeah.
Than others. Is that what it is? Like I'm just on my game. I don't really know. Anyways,
thank you guys for the support. By the way, if you do follow and you want to support some more, I had to rebuild Instagram. So we've only got 259 followers on Instagram now because we're starting over. And that's Go Get Your Wife because my name is gone now. I can't take it back.
259? So, as compared to the 100,000.
140 on Facebook and then
140,000 on Facebook.
Well, no, it's
combined.
Yeah, combined with the 2 Facebook.
That's still good.
And then TikTok just passed 40. YouTube's slow. It's hard. Instagram 2,000, I think, almost 2,000. I don't even know. It's hard. Anyways, we guys. Anyways, we couldn't do it without you guys. That's a combination of we
guys, and we couldn't do it without you guys.
We guys. So, one thing I could talk about now, since nobody's dropping questions right now, and I think that must be because we're getting so many new people right now. You're just listening to hear.
There's not a lot of people on right now.
One thing I talk about is support groups. I had a call with a guy today who's just thinking about the program. He was really, really on the fence. And one of the reasons that happens is we don't do sales. You're either a good fit for our program, you think you're a good fit for the program, or you don't, because we can't flip divorce statistics if we're selling people, right? It's like I remember working for a place where we sell cars. We go find it for them and we sell them. Sell them the red truck. We have a red truck, and I was like, well, what if he doesn't like a red truck? Okay, I learned how to sell him the red truck. No problem. This is different. This is too important. If you drive a red truck and you want a black truck, you're not going to save your marriage. No. So we don't really do sales. So this guy was really, really confused and conflicted. And it's because like on his bookshelf behind I like to do Zoom calls so I get to know you and it's real and stuff. But behind him was a bookshelf full of like 100 books. Oh, stop it. And she's
sorry, nobody's asking questions. So
she's flirting up a storm.
Welcome to our life.
And thank you, baby. And so there's like 100 books behind him, and he was spouting off all these titles, and I read a lot of them, but he's scared because he's read these books, he's implemented, he's tried things, and I get it, I've been there. But what I recognize is these were all books, or there's courses you can take, or programs, or you can just watch reel after reel, like in my shit or other people's posts, but you still have to put it together. And even the books that have a system or a course that has a system, you got to put it together, right? And the reason is because it almost always doesn't address the shit that we're talking about. We're talking about toxic shit. We're talking about narcissism. We're talking about no sex. That's typically not what you're seeing in all these things. So it's not a complete system. So I don't care how many books you've read or how many courses you've taken.
We read all those books too, and we had to put it all together.
Yeah. How many times you've been to therapy? You went to therapy for years, is just like we did.
Yeah.
But he brought up a really valid point. He was talking about support, which is something that most of these are also missing. And sometimes they do have support. I've had a lot of calls in the last 30 days with guys talking about the support groups that sucked. So they were hesitant to buy a program because of support.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to understand what kind of support you're getting, which is a derivative of what kind of program you're getting. So if you have an incomplete system, then what kind of support do you think you're going to get from the men or women that are in your program? Incomplete support. If they can't answer all your questions because they don't have all the answers, then how are they going to help you? If your coaches aren't teaching all the answers, how are they going to help you? But I wanted to touch on this because it's not really about that. It's really about support, support, support. I can't tell you, we talked about this a little bit last week, and I can't tell you how many people I talk to that will so both of us, when we're talking, we need to know if you're a good fit for a program. You got to tell us your story, right? And it happens to us all the time where people will talk about who they are speaking to and what they're being told. And Catherine was told 1,000 times to leave me. 1,000 freaking times,
Mm-hmm.
at least. Listen, you signed up. You love that person. When you met them, they had this crap, this programming from when they were a kid. They had this abuse from their last relationship, their trauma. They had all these things. And this gentleman in particular, I'm thinking of that, hey, he might even watch this because he wanted to watch all the lives before he made a decision. Like, hey, listen, like she had some really bad shit. Like, well, he's not on here, doesn't it? Concentration camp type shit. Like, not type that kind of shit. Okay. Like serious shit. Well, dude, you met her, you loved her, and yes, she might have to work through that issue. Clearly, she should. That's a tough one. But how do you stop loving somebody through that just because you guys stack the trauma on top of each other? So if you want support, get good support. Because I don't care if it's not as bad as concentration camp. I don't think I heard something worse than that. Have you heard anything worse than being in a concentration camp?
Well, yeah.
I don't think I've had that addressed yet, personally. Yeah. But
Christella, one of my coaches, I think she was born in a concentration camp. Either that, or her mother was pregnant with her. But so concentration camps are definitely bad. But there's also other things that can happen that are bad. But what he's saying is real. Like, that is bad. It's terrible. There's going to be PTSD. There's going to be trauma. But you knew that. His point is, you knew that when you got married.
Yeah, you knew that, or maybe you didn't find out right away, but you loved them. They were dealing with that same issue at that time. And what you need to understand when you're looking for support is, are you actually supporting, leading with empathy, loving your spouse through it? Considering that you have stacked all of these pains on top of that trauma. Yeah. Every issue that they were feeling when they came into the marriage, this is male or female, guys.
There's more now.
Yeah, I was. And
you can't blame them for the stuff they came in with. You already knew that.
Yeah, I was super insecure. Catherine figured it out pretty early on, right? Well, she stacked on the insecurities, not by cheating or anything like that, but just by telling me I'm going to get divorced. I'm going to leave. As one example, or two examples, sorry. Like, that's traumatizing for my background. Maybe not for yours. Excuse me. Maybe you don't have abandonment issues. You see where I'm going with this? So flip back to when you're getting support, do they have the skills? You guys got to start discerning between, is it good advice? Is it bad advice? And if it's good advice, is it supported enough to be good advice? And here's what you're missing. Does it include all the skills I need first? Let me give you a simple example. You need to communicate. Communication is key. Don't go to bed angry. Talk through the issue. That's how you do this. Did any one of those instructions come with the skill?
How to do any of it?
Shut down your defensiveness.
Don't stonewall.
You can't blame.
Don't use contempt. Don't blame. So people tell you to talk through it, but all you do is attack and defend. Attack, defend, attack, defend. So they're not wrong when they tell you that you need to communicate. Right. But did anyone teach you, unless you're in my program and I taught you, but did anyone teach you, which I'm very proud of, how to communicate? And you don't learn it in a day. You don't. I take 4 to 6 weeks to teach the communication skills before we go into talking it out and doing conflict intervention.
Yeah.
Because that's what it takes. I'm working with very strong, powerful, intelligent women, and it still takes 4 to 6 weeks to teach the skills that they thought that they already knew.
And I teach men just, here, say it like this, do it like this, and here's why, because men are fixers. They just want a system. If they're available to instructions or a map, then they'll call me, but then they are. So then we can do that. Just say it like this, do it like this. And I always say it's a different story, same symptoms, therefore the same treatments, right? And then you put your own spin on it because you're your own person. But yeah, so go back to that gentleman who's very concerned. He's bought a lot of books. I was under the impression he bought a lot of courses. I know he spent some money on therapy. Like la-di-da, you spent like $400 on books. How does that make you an expert if you can't put 400 books together? By the way, not many people. I know I can. I'm that kind of person. If you aren't the person who can like put things together, and I'm not talking about construction here. I'm talking about like analyze data, put it together, overlap, put a system in place, assess the situation, look at the data, what's happening, make it. You know how I know you're not? Because most people can't even start their own hobby business and make it do anything more than just be a hobby. Oh, I made some cakes today. Oh, I cleaned some guns today. These are just 2 people I talked to this week, right? Like, not to put you down, but you don't have the skills yet. So I appreciate, I'm just being firm. I appreciate that you want to do more, but you need to start discerning, is it good advice? Did they give me enough skills? And is the right kind of support? And did I get the skills that actually matter to the skills that they're talking about? In most cases, you're not. And so you might be tempted to think, oh yeah, therapy does that. Communication, exactly, right? She's talking, or we're just talking about the Gottman Big Four, right? Gottman's like some of the biggest marriage therapists in the world. Yeah, that's great. But Gottman's like all about, you got to be doing this together or it's not going to work.
You have to implement it properly.
That's right. Well, where's the skills when your partner's not in, or when they say they're in and they're not, or when they believe they're in, but they're actually checked out? What skills do you have to prepare yourself for that? That's just not taught. So what I want you to do is not necessarily, I'm not trying to sell us here right now. I'm sure there's people we just haven't met yet. And I am not naive enough to say we're the only ones. I used to think that with my gym, with my exercises, with all the stuff, all the exercises I created. I'm not naive enough to think I'm the only person who thought about this weird burpee that I created. That'd be insane. There's billions of people on the planet. The same thing goes for this stuff. But right now, how far are you from losing your marriage to when, or how far are you just down the tailspin where it just sucks and it's painful and it hurts, to where you're going to find those people? So right now,
speaking of being painful and hurts, nobody's asking questions, so I think we should cut it.
Yeah, nobody is asking questions today.
Yeah,
wife is feisty today.
So we really appreciate having all you guys, but if you don't ask questions, then we don't. I mean, he loves to talk and yammer.
Yeah.
But I think, it's been 48
true.
minutes, so I think we should just say goodnight to you guys. We love you, but if you don't have any questions, then
that's fair.
I love you. Good night.
Just
like our kids.
She's motivating with boundary right now.
Just like our kids. Okay. Good night.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you. And if you do have more questions, get them ready. Get them out.
Yeah, send them to us next week.
Let's make sure that we get you guys your answers. Otherwise, we're rocking and rolling. Totally. Good night to you too. Thank you. All right, guys. You have a good one.